Hello and welcome to Education Update. I'm Nyesha McCauley, and joining me again this week is Paul Holzer.
Thanks for having me back. No, just kidding. We're both here every week, trying to do every week, but it's great to be here.
Awesome. So today is Monday, April 14th, and we are just giving you another update as to what's going on in the education world in Hartford. And just as we had mentioned previously, you know, there are actually a lot of things going on. It's just, and this week in particular, I think is just...
Yeah, it's a big week for education.
Yeah. So last week we were here talking about the meeting that was happening regarding Clark School. Like, it was a special meeting called surrounding Clark School, and the board actually did take a vote and the vote, as it reads on paper, is to ask the state to impose
a turnaround
plan that that was voted on at Clark, you know, by the School Governance Council and then also the Turnaround Committee.
That's right.
That's where the story gets a little confusing.
Yeah, I think it's been a very interesting time in Hartford because the state had this process with certain rules, and there was a vote taken at the School Governance Council wanting to see a certain plan. Then a Turnaround Committee took a vote. And that was the vote that really, really mattered for the state to kind of step in and say, all right, great plan, now let's review it. And because there was one vote no, per state statute, that made the whole process kind of stop, and the plan couldn't get submitted. So what the Board of Ed did on Tuesday night at this special meeting at Simpson Waverly was vote to ask the state to intervene and impose a plan at Clark, which is, I mean, when was the last time the state had to impose certain things? I mean, outside of special ed compliance issues, which thankfully they imposed on Hartford.
Right.
You know, Hartford's been leading its own reform. But this is really asking the state to come in and say, you know, we need your help. The process has stalled. Make this happen because parents really want it to happen.
Yeah. So the plan as it's presented, does that mean it's Friendship Charter School?
The plan that was presented involved Friendship Public Charter Schools from Washington, D.C. and Baltimore County, Maryland, to be the partner, the lead partner. So it was not to change the school. It's still a community school, same kids, no movement of kids. Right. But you would have this lead partner coming in, and there'd be some percentage of teachers, if not all, would have to reapply for jobs. So this is a very disruptive process for the school, but that's what it seemed like the community wanted. There were, you know, I don't know, 25 parents there, and Clark, our Parents United for Clark, or something to that effect, with signs, you know, really looking for the Board of Ed to do something. So,
yeah. So I mean, things still need to be decided. The administration at the school needs to be determined, like, you know, who stays.
The full plan needs to be, I mean, I don't even know if the full plan's even public yet. I mean, I don't even know if this process is like fully finished and if the commissioner has a plan on his desk or how it's really moving. There was a process, the process kind of stopped, and now this is a little bit of a new process where now that the board has asked the state to step in, they have to actually still step in. And the commissioner has been silent to date. So I would look to hear something about Clark School and the state and what the commissioner wants to see happen there in this week or maybe next week. But better be quick, because whatever they're going to do with the plan, that needs to be implemented, you know, this year, not next September.
Right.
So.
So another big meeting Tuesday coming up. The board is meeting again, and this is a workshop to discuss the budget. So.
Yeah, this was the workshop that was supposed to happen last week, but they had this special meeting in lieu of it. And yeah, so for those who really want to know about the budget for the schools next year, this is the meeting to attend, which is at Kinsella at 5:30 on Tuesday, tomorrow, because you'll get all the information you want on the budget. Conceivably, there'll be a draft budget even there, maybe, that you can pick up. There'll be a public hearing on it later on, but this is where you would need to get all the information on it, so that if you did want to come and testify on something, you'd have all the details.
Yeah. So the public is always welcome to come to these workshops. There's no comment by the public, but it's definitely the place you want to come to get that information. So that's big. And then
not quite as big as Wednesday, though.
Wednesday is the biggest, I say. Yeah. I just and even in perspective of the bigger vision for Hartford, like it's almost historic. Yeah. Only, and I say that because of where Hartford is in its reform. Yeah. You know, Adamowski came and really shook the ground loose in Hartford, and
did 5 years, which was like unheard of for the previous 15 years.
Yeah.
You know?
And followed by Dr. Kishimoto, who continued on in that work, but didn't quite work well with.
It didn't work out for a whole host of reasons. So here we are.
Here we are, and we have 2 finalists for the superintendent position. They are coming to Hartford this Wednesday.
They have a full day. So when the superintendent search committee asked Achieve Hartford to facilitate these workshops, we were one part honored and one part like, man, this is a lot of work.
Yeah.
So we were happy to take it on. You know, we're not trying to represent any one community. Just it's great that we have ties into the business community, into the residential community. We've been trying to also work with educators to get the educator community involved, because it was very important for the search committee that as many communities that exist in our diverse Hartford get a chance to see these candidates and ask the questions that they think are most important.
That's right.
And usually in these things, you get like 5 or 6 questions, that's it. So, the question an educator might want to ask versus a parent versus someone in the business or philanthropic community can be very different. So 7:30 in the morning they start with the business, philanthropic, other communities that want to get up that early in the morning before their day. And these are all at Capital Community College. Yeah. Then, as I understand it, the 2 candidates have meetings with board members and mayor's office and folks at the district, and then they come back and see educators at 3:30 p.m. That one will start a little bit late, I think, because not every educator is out by 3:30 p.m.
Right.
But 3:30 p.m. they're back with educators getting grilled by teachers from all around Hartford, we hope. And then the big one will be at what time?
6:30. 6:30 is the big one, and that's the community. Parents, grandma, grandpa, uncles, aunts. That's the community we want to see come in and look at who's running for or who's vying for the position.
Absolutely.
It's big. You want to see them now, before a decision is made. Right?
You do. And it's not, and I think a lot of people would think like, why am I going to go up there and see these candidates? Like, my voice doesn't matter. But it's not about whether or not, who sits on the search committee and who doesn't, right? I mean, you've got representatives from all around Hartford sitting on that committee. But it's about being involved in this and seeing these folks and having a voice and asking a question, and rating these candidates on your way out and dropping it in a little box that we'll have there, just to be part of it and to say, I met both these folks and I saw them firsthand, or I know what to expect from these folks because I got a glimpse of them. And if the questions are good enough and the event is strong enough, then you will really see who these people are and get a feel for what kind of leader they're going to be in our city for your kids and for the kids of your neighbors or your grandkids.
Right. I mean, if you think about it, the superintendent affects so much of your child's, if you're a parent, so much of your child's education. You really are affected by the policies that they set and the decisions that they make and the way that they execute. And we don't have time for me to really illustrate how that impacts you, but it does. How the superintendent implements their policies affects you greatly.
They are the highest paid public employee in the city. The mayor has said it's the most important hire of anyone in the city. So this is it. You're going to have the superintendent, the mayor, the board of ed. These are the folks who are going to decide who are going to impact the quality of the schools going forward. And if you agree with us, where the schools go, the city goes. Yeah. Strong schools, strong city, right?
That's true. And so we're fortunate because the names were released on Thursday, late Thursday evening. The names were released, and so we know who the final candidates are.
We do. So want me to run through them?
Yes.
All right, so you have Dr. Beth Chiavinu Narvaez, Beth Schiavinu Narvaez, and she is down in Maryland. And right now she is the Deputy Superintendent of School Support and Improvement. She's been there since April of 2012, so 2 years. And that is a 40,000+ student district. So not quite double Hartford, but this is a huge school district. And they've been doing some really innovative things down there. Prior to that, she was at Springfield, so right nearby Springfield, Massachusetts, the Assistant Superintendent and Chief Academic Officer. So there is no shortage of experience, in her resume, to say the least. And prior to that, she was Special Assistant to the Superintendent in Stamford, Connecticut. So this is, hopefully this is like a coming home for her in a way. I must explain at least partially her interest in coming to Connecticut.
Right.
So very strong candidate. And we're going to try to put up, for those that are online, we're going to put up as much information on these candidates later today on our website. So check back. We're also going to try to drop an e-blast to parents and everyone else on our list with just links so folks can get to know these two candidates. The other candidate is Ronald Gerald Taylor, and he is the current superintendent. So he is the superintendent for a school district in New Jersey called Willingboro, which is much smaller. So about 4,500 kids. And he's been the superintendent there since January of 2011. So that's a good 3+ years, according to his resume. So he's superintendent of schools. Prior to that, he was in Newark, New Jersey, a very urban environment, for 2 years as the regional superintendent, of their West region. So he was not the superintendent there. And then before that, in D.C., he was principal of a school from 2001, 2009. So both of these candidates are coming with traditional educator backgrounds, which we're not going to talk about everything we think about these candidates, but it's just that's a positive that these folks are so well versed, both of them seemingly, in what happens on a day-to-day basis in the classroom, the experience for kids, the experience for teachers. Great teachers is the most important ingredient, right? So very, very strong candidates, and I hear through the grapevine that they're also very different, in their personality and their approach. So Wednesday is going to be a chance to see two very different leaders with somewhat different experience, really putting it on and making the sell. Yeah.
So the neat thing about the forum is that you have an opportunity to ask questions. Now. That's the way the forum is structured. So ask your questions now by calling me, and because we are short on time, trying to get everyone's question in at this time. So if you give me a call, 860-244-3333, by the end of today, Monday, we can get your question in and submit it, because questions are not taken from the floor the night of the forum.
That's right.
It's just.
I'll talk about that just a little bit. So, because folks have been asking me that in the community, like, why aren't we taking questions from the floor? And I've been to a lot of community events, and taking questions from the floor is fantastic, but it can also be very time-consuming, right? And so, if these superintendent candidates, if we want to maximize how much we get from them, we've got to get them we need to hit them with questions. They need to spend as much time on each question as they want, right? And we need to hear from them as much as possible. In a community event, it's great when you can just have a line of people coming up to the microphone. But sometimes there's a lot of folks in the audience who are waiting for a question to hit the issue that they want, and it never gets hit because there's 2 or 3 people that really just want to kind of dominate on one issue that's important to them. And I think that's great. True. But to try to make it even more, quote unquote, democratic, we're taking all the questions in beforehand. So I really encourage folks in the community to call the office and get the question to Nyesha. We've got to turn these questions around, code them based on which issues they hit from the 6 competencies that the search committee gave us, and then give them up to the committee to vet tomorrow. So they're going to vet these questions tomorrow, which means we have to be done collecting them at latest today. Close of business. So please just call 860-244-3333, especially if you're someone who has a question but doesn't have email at home, or easy access to email. Email is obviously the easiest way to get it, but just today, for the sake of time, just pick up the phone, 860-244-3333.
Yeah. Great. So no, I'm really looking forward to Wednesday. I hope to see everyone that I know in the community there, and meet some new people too, because it's going to be big. So.
And let's one last thing I want to say is, so they're coming to sell Hartford too, but both these folks are vying for positions in other cities as well.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're a finalist at this level, you're probably a finalist somewhere else. So let's make sure turnout's great. Let's show these folks how engaged the Hartford community is, and make sure that there's hundreds of people there if possible.
Yeah. So don't just come, but bring someone along with you. There's childcare available. We're feeding you.
There's free parking.
Right.
Just
parking's validated.
Get down to Talcott Street Garage behind Capital Community College, which is 960 Main Street. Yeah. Come up with your kids. Come to the 11th floor. Make sure that they get food and have fun, and you can get to know these candidates. 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday.
So awesome. All right. So you have been officially updated for this week, and we'll be back again next week to talk more education matters.
Sounds good. Thanks so much.
All right. Awesome.